So I'm making a wood-fired oven focaccia. I started off with getting some water and yeast. Now you only need about 7 grams of yeast, but I'm using about 20, and I'm adding some sugar there because my yeast is about a year past its due date. Doesn't mean I can't still use it, it just means I gotta give it a bit of encouragement. Chucking some salt in the flour there. I've got 500 grams of flour and about 325 milliliters of water. Mixing them in, like I said before, just a pinch of salt. Now with this dough, I'm going to start it off in the bowl, just mixing it around with my fingers. Give it a good mix. Eventually it'll start to come and stick together. It'll be all sticky but also flaky. And as it gets more stirred up, it'll start to form a ball, as you see there. Still lots of flaky bits. So I'm keeping it in the bowl until those flaky bits just come and stick on to the ball. I'll just push into the side and try and get all of the other parts that are stuck on the outside of the ball into the main ball. Once that's achieved, I am putting some flour onto the bench just to stop the main dough ball from sticking too much. You might find that on a hot day, a dry day, you'll need some more water, or on a humid day you might need more flour because it gets too sticky. Basically you're feeling it as you're rolling it, how sticky or how dry it is. And there I am, kneading it at high speed. Doesn't take a lot of time doing it by hand. Give it a good stretch as well. That's what I like to do with when it's all come together. Give it a good stretch, and eventually you're going to get a consistency where it's like the fluid is just almost everywhere. You can see it. It's evenly distributed. Now from this point I just want to give it another minute and a half of kneading, just until it's like to the point where it's like stretchy. So yeah, look at that now. That's properly stretchy. That's exactly the consistency that I want. So from here I'll form a ball, just wrap the top around and twist it together, and that's my ball. And I'll leave it to prove for 40 minutes. So the way I do that is put some olive oil in a bowl so it doesn't stick, and then put the dough ball in there and cover it with a little bit more olive oil, and then cover the ball and just let it sit there. Cover the bowl with cling wrap and just let it sit there for 40 minutes. You could go longer if you wanted to. After that time, I'm oiling up my pan, which I'll be cooking it in, and putting it in there. I'll transfer it there. Now all that oil I used to make it not stick, well, it didn't work at all because look at it, it's just stuck. No big deal. Pull it out and you just give it a quick fold over, just sort of reshaping it a bit. I don't want to do a proper knead, but just reshape it and then change it to the shape of the dish that I'm going to be cooking it in. Tying it up again, trying to get the skin tight, and then stretch it out a bit, make it a bit flat. Flatter to get into that deep dish there. So that's a cast iron skillet. which I'll be putting into the wood-fired oven, but not until this has risen again. So I'll leave that again for another 40 minutes minimum. Put a bit of olive oil on the top again, rub it in. Now, I didn't actually leave it for 40 minutes, putting some finger holes there. Like I said before, I didn't leave it 40 minutes, I left it for a couple of hours. Went out and did a couple of things and came back later. And it looks like this. It's grown much more. And from here, I'm going to start putting in the toppings. So I'm going to put a bit of salt on there. Crack some salt on there. I'll knock it back. And let me tell you, this is so much fun right now. Now these finger holes that I'm making are pockets that I'm going to put the toppings in. I'll put olive oil in there, and right now I'm putting in sun-dried tomatoes. So sun-dried tomatoes, olives, olive oil, cheese, and blue cheese. And that'll be my toppings. So I decided to put this in the oven, the wood-fired oven, just as it's starting to get fired up. I'm thinking, if I put it in there now, as the wood is smoking off, I can capture some of that woody, smoky flavour in on the top of it, and then as the oven heats up to a proper temperature, it'll warm the pan up and cook everything through, and then I can take it out when it's cooked. Now, that was not the case. What I found is, because of the handle, I couldn't maneuver the skillet around. So I had basically one side cooked and the other side not cooked. So there you can see, like, one side's dark and the other side's light. Like the right side of the screen that is light and that's uncooked. And on the other side, you can see that the sun-dried tomato is completely singed and burnt. That happens every time I cook sun-dried tomatoes in an oven, but I think I've just got to give up on using them as an ingredient for something that I'm cooking in an oven. Anyway, I'll pull it out, put it on a cooling rack, just to let some of the moisture escape so it doesn't stay in there and get soggy. And from here, I'm going to break off a piece and do a bit of a taste test. It was in the oven all around about 20 minutes, 20, maybe less. And we taste it, and it is, boom, real good. Yeah, it's like so good. Like the olive oil flavour there, the cheese, the olives. It's just fantastic. And it's just so fresh and warm. My daughter wants some too, so she's going to have some, but she's just starting it off with an olive again. But she'll get into the bread in a minute. Anyway, so my final summary on this was that the oven is probably too small for a cast iron skillet of that size, because the handle prohibits the ability for it to turn around. You can't get it a balanced, even cook. You'll end up with one side getting cooked more than the other side. Now, the side that I picked off for the taste test just happened to be the side that was like perfectly in the middle, and it was just delicious. But the other side was completely uncooked. It was like this stringy, messy dough. And yeah, I wouldn't serve that to anyone. But the part that was cooked was good. So overall, I'm going to say that I think that the best way to go forward next time is to just use a different kind of baking tin. Anyway, that's all for me.